The USS Horizon moved slowly through the darkness of space. Captain Jake Morrison stood on the bridge and looked at the stars. His ship was far from Earth, exploring new worlds in the Kepler 442 system. The crew had been traveling for 6 months. Without seeing any signs of alien life, Dr. Lisa Carter sat at her station, watching the screens that showed empty space. She was the ship's expert on alien life, but so far she had found nothing. The silence of space felt heavy around them. Ben Phillips was down in the engine room, fixing a broken pipe. He liked working with his hands and keeping the ship running. The engines hummed quietly as he tightened the last bolt. Ben was not like the other crew members. While they dreamed of finding aliens, he just wanted to do his job and keep everyone safe. The alarm suddenly rang through the ship. Red lights flashed on every wall. Ben dropped his tools and ran toward the bridge. Something big was happening. On the bridge, Captain Morrison stared at the main screen. A massive ship appeared in front of them. It was 3 times bigger than the USS Horizon and looked like it was built for war. Dark metal covered its surface, and strange symbols glowed red along its sides. "What is that thing?" asked Dr. Carter. Her voice shook as she spoke. "I don't know," said the captain, "but it's not human." The alien ship moved closer. It was so big that it blocked out the stars behind it. Strange sounds came through the radio. The sounds were deep and harsh, like animals growling. Ben reached the bridge just as the alien ship sent a message. The computer tried to translate the words, but something went wrong. The translation made it sound like the humans were challenging the aliens to a fight. "Become in peace," Captain Morrison said into the radio. But the computer changed his words into something that sounded like a threat. The alien ship fired blue beam at the USS Horizon. The beam did not destroy the ship, but it stopped the engines from working. The lights went out, and the ship became quiet and dark. Captain Morrison tried to send another message, but it was too late. The aliens were already coming. Large pods shot out from the alien ship and attached to the USS Horizon. The pods cut through the metal walls like they were made of paper. Steam and sparks filled the air as the aliens broke inside. The first alien that stepped onto the ship was huge. It stood 12 feet tall and had gray skin that looked like stone. Its eyes were bright yellow, and sharp teeth filled its mouth. The alien wore black armor and carried weapons that glowed with energy. More aliens followed the first one. Moved like soldiers, checking every corner and watching for danger. Their leader was even bigger than the others. Scars covered his face and arms, showing that he had fought many battles. "I am War Commander Thoktar," the leader said in broken English. His voice was so deep that Ben could feel it in his chest. "You have challenged the Krathic Empire. Now you will pay." Captain Morrison stepped forward with his hands raised. "There's been a mistake. We didn't mean to challenge anyone. We come in peace." War Commander Thoktar laughed, but it was not a happy sound. "Peace is for the weak. You humans look weak, but you dare to challenge us. This puzzles me." The Krathic soldiers grabbed the human crew members. Their hands were so big that they could lift a human with one arm. Dr. Carter tried to run, but a Krathic warrior caught her easily. "Take them to our ship," ordered Thoktar. "They will learn what happens to those who challenge the Krathic." Ben was still hiding near the door to the bridge. He watched the aliens take his friends away. His heart beat fast, and his hands shook with fear. But instead of running, he thought about what he could do to help. The Krathic were strong and scary. But Ben noticed something else about them. They moved with purpose and discipline. They did not hurt the humans more than they needed to. They were not just mindless monsters. As the Krathic left with their prisoners, Ben slipped away to the lower parts of the ship. He knew the USS Horizon better than anyone. There were places to hide where even the aliens might not find him. Ben made his way to the engine room through small passages and air vents. The ship was quiet now, with only the sound of his breathing and footsteps. He reached his workspace and sat down to think. He could try to send a message to Earth, but it would take years to reach them. He could try to fight the aliens, but he was just one man against giant warriors. Or he could try something else. Ben heard a noise from the far end of the engine room. Heavy footsteps moved slowly between the machines. An alien was still on the ship. Ben picked up a wrench and moved carefully toward the sound. His heart pounded as he got closer. Around a corner, he saw one of the Krathic warriors sitting on the floor. The alien was hurt. A wound on his leg. The warrior breathed heavily and held his side like it was broken. He had been injured when the pods crashed into the ship. Ben stopped and stared. The alien looked up and saw him. For a moment, neither of them moved. The Krathic warrior reached for his weapon, but he was too weak to lift it. Ben could have run away. He could have left the alien to die. But something inside him would not let him do that. This creature was hurt and needed help. Ben put down his wrench and walked slowly toward the alien. The Krathic warrior watched him with yellow eyes full of confusion and pain. "I'm not going to hurt you," Ben said softly. He pointed to the aliens. "Wounds, let me help." The warrior did not understand the words, but he saw Ben's hands were empty. He saw no weapons and no fear in the human's eyes. This was not what he expected from an enemy. Ben knelt down next to the huge alien. The warrior was so big that even sitting down, his head was higher than Ben's. But Ben was not afraid anymore. He had made his choice. Using supplies from his toolkit, Ben began to clean the alien's wounds. The warrior flinched at first, but then he held still. His yellow eyes never left Ben's face, trying to understand why this small human was helping him. This was how it began. Not with weapons or threats, but with one human who chose kindness over fear. Ben did not know it yet, but his simple act of mercy would change everything for both their species. The wounded Krathic warrior stared at Ben as the human finished bandaging his leg. The alien's name was Great H, though Ben did not know this yet. Great had never seen anything like this before. In his world, enemies killed each other. They did not heal each other's wounds. Ben stepped back when he was done. The alien's breathing was better now, and the bleeding had stopped. Great H tried to stand up, but his leg was still weak. He looked at Ben with confusion in his yellow eyes. "Why?" Great asked in his own language. Ben could not understand the words, but he heard the question in the alien's voice. Ben pointed to himself and said, "Ben." Then he pointed to the alien and waited. "Great," the warrior said slowly. His voice was deep and rough, but Ben could hear his name clearly. For the next hour, they sat together in the engine room. Ben showed Great how the ship's engines worked. He pointed to different parts and said their names in English. Great listened carefully and tried to repeat the words. When other Krathic soldiers came looking for Great, he told them he was fine. He did not mention the human who had helped him. This was strange behavior for a Krathic warrior, but Great felt something he had never felt before. The humans called it gratitude. Later, Great H brought Ben to the Krathic ship as a prisoner, but he made sure Ben was not hurt during the trip. The other warriors noticed this, but said nothing. Great H was a respected fighter, and they trusted his judgment. The inside of the Krathic ship was dark and made of black metal. Everything was built for creatures much larger than humans. Ben felt very small as he walked through the corridors. The ceiling was so high he could not touch it even if he jumped. They put Ben in a small room with thick walls. The door was made of the same black metal as the rest of the ship. There was a bed, a table, and a small window that showed the stars outside. It was not comfortable, but it was not a torture chamber either. War Commander Thoktar came to see Ben the next day. The huge alien leader had to bend down to fit through the doorway. His yellow eyes studied Ben like he was trying to solve a puzzle. "You are the human who helped Graith," Thoktar said. "His English was better than the other aliens. This confuses me. Why did you not let him die?" Ben looked up at the giant warrior. Even sitting down, Thoktar was taller than Ben standing up. But Ben was not afraid to speak the truth. "He was hurt," Ben said simply. "I couldn't just watch him suffer." Thoktar's eyes narrowed. "In our empire, the weak die and the strong live. This is the natural way. But you are weak, yet you helped one of the strong. This makes no sense." Ben thought about this for a moment. Maybe being strong isn't just about fighting. It's about helping others when they need it. The war commander made a sound that might have been laughter. English human words. "Strength is measured in battle, not in kindness." But Thoktar did not leave right away. He asked Ben questions about human society. He wanted to know why humans helped each other instead of fighting all the time. Ben tried to explain about families, friends, and communities working together. "On my world," Ben said, "we believe that helping others makes everyone stronger. When one person falls down, others help them stand up. This way the whole group survives better." Thoktar listened, but did not seem convinced. "The Krathic way is different. We fight to prove our worth. The strongest lead, and the weak follow. This has made us masters of many worlds." Over the following days, more Krathic warriors came to talk with Ben. Word had spread about the human who had healed Great H. Some came out of curiosity. Others came to test him with difficult questions. Ben learned that the Krathic were not just savage monsters. They had a complex society with rules and traditions. They valued honor above everything else. A warrior's reputation was more important than his life. The Krathic told Ben stories of their greatest battles. They spoke of heroes who had died protecting their people, had songs about brave warriors who had sacrificed themselves for the good of the empire. Ben realized that humans and Krathic were not so different after all. Both species valued courage and loyalty. Both honored those who protected others. The difference was in how they showed these values. Ben began telling the Krathic stories about human heroes. He talked about firefighters who ran into burning buildings to save strangers. He spoke of doctors who worked in dangerous places to help sick people. He described soldiers who had given their lives to protect their countries. The Krathic listened to these stories with great interest. They had never heard of warriors who fought against disease and disaster instead of other people. The idea of using strength to heal rather than destroy was new to them. Grak visited Ben often. His leg was healing well thanks to Ben's help. The two of them worked on learning each other's languages. Reich taught Ben Krathic words, and Ben taught him more English. Through their conversations, Ben learned about Gratha's life. The alien warrior had been fighting since he was young. He had won many battles and earned respect among his people. But he had never had a friend who was not also a warrior. Ben told Graith about his own life, explained how he had become an engineer because he liked building things instead of destroying them. He talked about his family back on Earth and how much he missed them. One evening, as they sat talking in Ben's cell, Graith said something that surprised both of them. "I owe you a life debt, Ben Phillips," he said in careful English. "You saved me when you could have let me die. By Krathic law, your life is now under my protection." Ben did not fully understand what this meant, but he could see it was important to Galactic H. The alien warrior's yellow eyes were serious as he spoke. "I don't need protection," Ben said. "I just did what felt right." Graith shook his massive head. "You do not understand. A life debt is sacred among my people. I will defend you with my own life if necessary." As the days passed, other Krathic began to notice the friendship between Ben and Galactic H. Some thought it was wrong for a warrior to befriend a weak alien. Others were curious about this human who had earned such loyalty. War Commander Thoktar watched everything carefully. He saw how Ben treated even the lowest Krathic soldiers with respect. He noticed that Ben never tried to escape or cause trouble. Most importantly, he observed how Graith had changed since meeting the human. The seeds of something new were growing aboard the Krathic ship. Neither species knew it yet, but this friendship between two unlikely companions would soon be tested in ways neither could imagine. The peace aboard the Krathic ship ended when the alarm started ringing. Red lights flashed in every corridor. and warriors ran to their battle stations. Ben felt the ship shake as something hit it from outside. Grath burst into Ben's cell without. Knocking, his armor was already on, and he carried his energy weapon. "We are under attack," he said quickly. "The Zephyrian swarm has found us." Ben had heard terrible stories about the swarm. They were creatures that ate entire planets. They moved through space in huge groups, consuming everything in their path. No single species had ever been able to stop them alone. "What about my crew?" Ben asked as he followed Great H into the corridor. "They are safe on your ship," Great H replied. "Not for long if we cannot fight off the swarm." The Krathic ship shook again, harder this time. Ben could hear the sound of metal being torn. Apart somewhere in the distance, through the windows, he saw terrible creatures attacking the ship. They looked like giant insects with sharp claws and teeth. Their ships were organic, grown rather than built. War Commander Thoktar's voice echoed through the ship's communication. "System, all warriors to battle positions. Protect the engine core at all costs. If it falls, we all die." Grath looked at Ben with worried eyes. "You should stay in your cell where it is safe." But Ben shook his head. "I'm an engineer. Maybe I can help fix whatever they break." Grath was about to argue when another explosion rocked the ship. Sparks flew from damaged wall panels, and the lights flickered. Ben could see that Grath was torn between keeping him safe and needing his help. "The engine room," Ben said firmly. "Take me there. I know how machines work." Grath made a quick decision. "Stay close to me. Do exactly what I say." They ran. Through corridors filled with smoke and emergency lights, Krathic warriors rushed past them, their heavy footsteps like thunder on the metal floors. Some were already wounded, their dark blood leaving trails behind them. The engine room was in chaos when they arrived. Krathic engineers worked frantically at control panels while sparks showered down from damaged systems. The main power core, a massive crystal that glowed with blue energy, was flickering like a dying flame. A Krathic engineer saw them enter and shouted something in their language. Great H translated quickly. "Says the power coupling is damaged. If it fails completely, the engines will stop working." Ben looked at the alien technology around him. It was different from human machines, but energy was energy. He could see where the problem was. "I need tools," he said. Grack found a toolkit and handed it to Ben. The tools were made for creatures with much larger hands. But Ben made them work. He crawled into spaces that were too small for the Krathic engineers and began fixing damaged connections. As Ben worked, he could hear the battle raging outside. The ship's weapons fired constantly at the attacking swarm creatures. Sometimes, the ship would shake so hard that Ben had to hold on to keep from falling. "How many of them are there?" Ben asked, as he reconnected a broken wire. "Too many," Grace replied grimly. "The swarm never travels in small groups. This is probably just the advanced scouts. The main force is still coming." Ben finished repairing one section and moved to another. His hands were cut and burned from the alien machinery, but he kept working. The Krathic engineers watched him with amazement. None of them could fit into the tight spaces where the damage was worst. Suddenly, a new alarm started ringing. This one was different from the battle alarms. It was urgent and desperate. Grace's face went pale when he heard it. "What is that?" Ben asked. "Reactor overload warning," Great H said. "Something has damaged the main reactor. If it explodes, it will destroy both our ships and everything around them." Ben climbed out of the machinery and looked at the massive reactor core. It was housed behind thick walls in the center of the engine room. Warning lights flashed all around it, and the blue glow was getting brighter and more unstable. A Krathic engineer was shouting into his communicator. Graith listened and then turned to Ben with fear in his eyes. "The reactor controls are damaged. Someone needs to go inside the reactor chamber and fix them manually. But the radiation levels are deadly. Whoever goes in will not come out alive." Ben looked at the reactor chamber. There was a small maintenance hatch that led inside. It was barely big enough for a human, definitely too small for any Krathic warrior. "I can fit through that hatch," Ben said quietly. Grath grabbed Ben's arm. "No, I will not let you die for us. Find another way. But Ben could see there was no other way. The radiation was getting stronger every second. Soon, it would be too late for anyone to enter the chamber, and both ships would be destroyed. You said you owed me a life debt, Ben said to Greg Tage. Well, now I'm asking you to let me save your life and the lives of everyone else on these ships. Greg Thess. Yellow eyes, filled with pain. Oh, this is not what I meant. I was supposed to protect you, not watch you die. Ben put his hand on Greg's massive arm. Sometimes protecting someone means letting them do what they think is right. The reactor alarms were getting louder. There was no more time to argue. Ben grabbed a radiation suit that was too big for him and put it on anyway. The Krathic engineers showed him what needed to be fixed inside the reactor chamber. As Ben prepared to enter the deadly chamber, Graith did something that shocked everyone present. The giant warrior knelt down so that he was at Ben's eye level. You are the bravest creature I have ever known, he said. It has been an honor to call you friend. Ben smiled, even though he was scared. Take care of my crew, okay? And maybe try to be friends with them too? Ben crawled through the maintenance hatch into the reactor chamber. The radiation was so strong he could feel it burning through the protective suit. His vision began to blur almost immediately, but he forced himself to focus on the damaged controls, working by feel as much as sight. Ben managed to reset the safety systems and stabilize the reactor core. The deadly blue glow faded to a safer level, and the alarms finally stopped ringing, but the radiation had done its damage. When the other Krathic pulled Ben out of the chamber, he was unconscious and barely breathing. Great H caught his small body in his massive hands and carried him to the medical bay. As Ben fought for his life, something unprecedented happened. Graith, a warrior who had never shown weakness, began to cry. His tears fell on Ben's face as he whispered words of friendship and gratitude. Other Krathic warriors saw this and were deeply moved.
Ow.
Never before had they seen one of their own weep for an alien. Ben woke up 3 days later in the Krathic medical bay. His body felt strange and different. The radiation should have killed him, but somehow he was alive. When he tried to sit up, gentle hands pushed him back down. Rest, my friend Grath said softly. You are safe now. Ben looked around the medical room. Advanced Krathic machines surrounded his bed, monitoring his health. Dr. Lisa Carter from his own crew sat in a chair nearby. Her eyes were red from crying, but she smiled when she saw him awake. Ben, she said, reaching for his hand. We thought we lost you. The reactor, Ben said weakly. Did it work? Is everyone safe? Grath nodded. The reactor is stable. Both ships survived the swarm attack. You saved us all. Dr. Carter explained what had happened while Ben was unconscious. War Commander Thoktar had made an incredible decision. He used the most advanced Krathok medical technology to save Ben's life. The treatment had changed Ben's body at the cellular level, making him stronger and more resistant to radiation and disease. You are no longer just human, Dr. Carter said. The Krathic technology has enhanced your body. You might live much longer than normal humans now. But the most important change was not in Ben's body, it was in the relationship between the two species. Word of Ben's sacrifice had spread through the entire Krathic fleet. Warriors who had never shown respect to aliens now spoke of the brave human engineer with admiration. War Commander Thoktar visited Ben as soon as he was strong enough to receive visitors. The massive alien leader looked different somehow. His usual stern expression had softened, and there was something like warmth in his yellow eyes. Ben Phillips, Thoktar said formally. By the ancient laws of our people, I declare you an honorary member of the Krathic warrior caste. This has never been done for an alien before, but your courage has earned this honor. Dukta placed a small metal medallion around Ben's neck. It was made of the same black metal as Krathic armor and bore symbols that meant strength, honor, and sacrifice. What does this mean? Ben asked. It means you are our brother now, Great H explained. You have the same rights and protections as any Krathok warrior. More importantly, it means our people will listen when you speak. Captain Jake Morrison and the rest of Ben's crew were amazed by these developments. They had been treated well during Ben's recovery. But now the Krathic treated them like honored guests instead of prisoners. Dr. Carter, worked closely with Krathic scientists to understand their technology. She was particularly interested in their medical advances. The Krathic were interested in human engineering and problem-solving methods. We could learn so much from each other, Dr. Carter told Ben. Their technology could help us explore space more safely. Our methods could help them build more efficient machines. But the real test of this new friendship came when the USS Horizon detected distress signals from human colonies in the Tau Ceti system. The Zephyrian swarm had found the colonies and was attacking them. Ben was still recovering when Captain Morrison brought him the news. "We have to go help them," Morrison said. "But our ship alone isn't strong enough to fight the swarm." Ben looked at Greykith, who had been listening to the conversation. "Will your people help us save the colonies?" Great H was quiet for a moment. Then he said, "I will ask War Commander Thoktar, but I think he will say yes. You saved our lives. Now we can save yours." The answer came quickly. Not only would Thoktar help, but he was calling in other Krathok ships to join the rescue mission. Within hours, a small fleet was assembled with both human and Krathic vessels. Ben served as the coordinator between the two species during the journey to Tau Ceti. His unique position as an honorary Krathic warrior gave him authority with both crews. He helped plan the battle strategy, combining Krathic military strength with human tactical flexibility. The colonies were under heavy attack when they arrived. Swarm creatures covered the surface of 3 different planets, consuming everything they could find. Millions of human lives were at stake. The combined fleet worked together perfectly. Krathic warships used their powerful weapons to destroy the largest swarm vessels, while human ships used their speed and maneuverability to rescue civilians from the planet's surfaces. Ben coordinated the rescue operations from the flagship. Working with both human and Krathic officers, he translated not just languages, but ways of thinking. When Krathok warriors wanted to charge directly into battle, Ben helped them understand human tactics. When human officers hesitated to take risks, Ben showed them how Krathic courage could succeed. The battle lasted for 2 days. In the end, the combined fleet drove off the swarm and saved all 3 colonies. The victory was so complete that other alien species in nearby systems took notice. News of the human-Krathic alliance spread across the galaxy. For the first time in known history, 2 very different species had worked together as equals. The success at Tau Ceti proved that cooperation was stronger than conquest. Ambassador, ships from dozens of worlds came to meet with the new allies. Ben found himself helping to establish the Galactic Cooperation Council, a group dedicated to peaceful relationships between different species. 6 months later, Ben stood in the Great Hall of the new council building. Representatives from 20 different alien species had gathered to sign the founding charter. Ben wore both his human uniform and his Krathic honor medallion. War Commander Thoktar stood beside him. He's no longer just a military leader, but also a diplomat. The giant warrior had learned much about cooperation and friendship from his small human brother. "Who would have thought," Thoktar said quietly, "that one act of kindness could change the entire galaxy?" Ben smiled as he watched the ceremony. Maybe that's all it ever takes. Someone willing to help instead of hurt. After the formal ceremonies ended, Ben and Graith walked together through the gardens outside the council building. The gardens contained plants from many different worlds, all growing together in harmony. "Do you ever regret helping me that day?" Graith asked. Ben thought about everything that had happened. He had almost died. His body had been changed forever, and he was now responsible for maintaining peace between species. But he had also gained a brother and helped create something beautiful. "No," Ben said firmly. "I would do it again." They sat together on a bench, watching the sunset through the garden's crystal dome. Around them, representatives from dozens of worlds worked together to build a better future. And it all started because one human dared to befriend a giant alien warrior. The galaxy would never be the same.